Let's talk about police reform, the trending topic this week, especially in the wake of Derek Chauvin's conviction.
We have seen what happens when what starts as a simple exchange can then turn into a deadly encounter with police, and specifically people of color, which is why this video of Perth Amboy police and a group of bike riders has sparked outrage. Take a look.
And I told you guys are supposed to have licenses. Listen, if the sergeant warned you guys about your bike, so you guys are warned. Can I talk to you? I gave you a warning. I just got out of my house.
Take my seat, cuz. You're pissing me off.
Get off the bike, you're gonna get arrested too.
Okay, one of the teens in this video arrested, later released. The incident under review by the mayor and the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. This morning, we are joined by the executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union in New Jersey, Amol Sinha. So good morning to you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you for being here this morning to talk about this hot button issue here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So this has sparked a lot of questions, a lot of outrage too. Only one of the young bike riders was taken into custody. The question was, did that individual ever receive a ticket, a citation before the arrest?
We're not sure. It doesn't appear like he did, and that's really concerning because obviously if he had, perhaps it didn't need to escalate into an arrest, yet it did. And so often when we are seeing people violate traffic laws, which, let's be clear, that's what this is. If there's an incident on a bike, it's a traffic violation. You get a ticket and you don't get an arrest.
Right.
Let me talk about this because bike registration, that law in specific, right? The first time we saw this story, what went through our minds was, what kid registers their bike and who enforces that? And a lot of critics are looking at this and saying that it's these type of petty laws that are being used to round up and take people of color into custody.
That's absolutely right. You know, this is the first time that I heard about this sort of a law, and it's these sorts of municipal minor laws that can be used as pretexts for stops, especially of people of color, especially in communities of color. And that's a real concern because, as we know, look, George Floyd was pulled or stopped because he was accused of having a counterfeit $20 bill. You know, Dante Wright was stopped because he had too many air fresheners in his car. You know, those are things that are maybe on the books, but perhaps don't need to be enforced in the way they do.
Yeah.
And if they are being enforced, we should take a close look at who's at the wrong end of that enforcement.
But this is also not something that's very universal because I live in New Jersey, grew up in New Jersey. I rode my bike much like those kids did, right? You know, you do what teenagers do. You ride your bike, you pop a wheelie, you jump off a staircase, be it what it may. So I went home and I researched the laws, and bike registration seems to be different in every single town. The young man that was taken into custody didn't even live in Perth Amboy, where you do need a bike registration. So would he be required to have one if he didn't need one in his own town where he lives?
So that would be a real problem, right? Like if I lived in a neighboring town from Perth Amboy and I wanted to ride my bike, anytime I wanted to ride my bike, would I have to get a registration? That seems to be a real problem. And I don't even know if the Perth Amboy police would want to deal with all of the different municipalities and residents of different towns. So I don't think it's something that's possible even.
Right. And, you know, there's this, too. Initially, an auxiliary cop gave the bikers just a stern warning, right? And then actually the whole situation was diffused. So how did it increase into what we saw in that video?
That's a really good observation, because what we saw in this video was that there was one arm of the police that was ready to defuse the situation, gave them a warning and said, be careful, have fun out there, but be careful. And then the other hand of the police came in and said, no, we're going to confiscate your bikes and we're going to arrest you. So that shows you how arbitrary some of these decisions are, that when, you know, one police officer can say one thing and another can come in and say another thing, it's the burden on the individual to sort of defuse or de-escalate the situation rather than the police. And of course, you can see why people have distrust of the police and a budding resentment of the police as a result.
Right, and often what we've seen around the country, right, is that a mayor comes out and says they're going to do the investigations and the investigations are going to play out. What people may not know here in this case is that the mayor of Perth Amboy is also the director of the police department, which now raises concerns, Amol, right, over an impartial investigation. Can that be done? What is the likelihood, then, of appointing an independent investigator to look into this incident?
You know, I think the likelihood of appointing an independent investigator outside of government is probably unlikely for something like this. However, what we do have in New Jersey is control of the police departments by our prosecutors' offices. So in this instance, it's not just the police department or the mayor, it's also the prosecutor office. And you know, despite the problems that we may have with prosecutors working with police departments, I think in something like this, it's at least a little more impartial than the mayor itself or the police department itself doing the investigation.
All right,
Understood.
Amol Sinha, looking forward to seeing how this turns out. Thank you for your time today. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.